In this episode of the Houndsman XP podcast, you're going to be introduced to Lauren Vrany from Wisconsin. When we were at Autumn Oaks, I ran into Lauren and started talking to her, and her story is just amazing. The fact that she loaded up a truck and a camper and headed to Autumn Oaks, she was planning on coming by herself, is just an amazing story in and of itself that she'd be willing to do that. But the most amazing thing is she's only been involved in hound sports for a little over 2 years. And as you listen to the episode, you're going to get all of that background. But the most impressive thing about Lauren is her ability to meet the public and be personable. And Steve, we saw a lot of that while we were working that booth, because she jumped in, rolled up her sleeves, and wanted to be a part of our team.
That's for sure, Chris. I met Lauren for the first time at Autumn Oaks this year.
Same with me. Never met her before.
Right, and I found her to be, very friendly, outgoing, very excited about the hound sports, and a person that immediately didn't wait for us to ask her to do things around the booth, and all we needed all the help we could get there with the crowds that came by each day. And I know you remarked to me at one point, Chris, about how helpful she was in the booth.
She owned it. It was her booth. She would talk to people and say, are you listening to our podcast? Just in a way that the public could relate to her. She didn't act like a guest there. She was excited to give us a hand. And she did the same thing for W.
Well, I'm sure, and I think that's what started the wheels turning a little bit with you and me as we discussed our need for someone to really keep us on track moving forward. I was very fortunate over the years that I worked, and I'm sure you were too, Chris, to have people in the office that were really supportive and kept me on track and kept the mission moving forward and kept things organized and schedules, calendars, all the kind of things that people don't think about. And as this podcast is growing, you and I have found that we need that kind of person. We need someone that's there, kind of got the hand on the tiller, so to speak, and steering us in the right direction day to day, because as this thing is growing, and it definitely is, it's getting busier every day.
And I guess that's where we step in and we just announce it. Lauren Vrany is going to come on the Houndsman XP team. She's going to give us some direction. She's got a big job in front of her. It's going to be like, with me and you on board, it's going to be like herding cats, trying to keep us pointed downstream and things running. But she brings a vibe to the team that is going to be refreshing. And even though she is a rookie at this sport, but I'm excited about the public watching her grow and mature in the hound sports and become a more experienced and accomplished houndsperson and hunter.
Well, absolutely. And one of the things that impressed me about Lauren is the fact that she is a hunter. You're going to hear her amazing story of how she got involved in this sport, and the degree already at this juncture in the journey for her. She's already doing a lot of things, coon hunting, bear hunting, getting involved in events, and just so many things. And she brings a lot of skills to the table that we've been looking for and been needing, whether we've really thought that hard about it or not. But when we met Lauren at Autumn Oaks and saw just that vivacious personality and that energy and all, it just seemed a perfect fit.
Yeah, and she's not afraid to talk about her inexperience, so she's got the right level of humility there. And I don't want to go into a lot of detail. A lot of it's explained in the episode, Steve, but she fits a demographic of our society that we definitely need to be able to capture and recruit to hunting. And we go into that in depth in this episode. But I am so excited to have Lauren on board with us, and she's going to be flying that Houndsman XP flag out there at every chance she gets, and help co-chair some episodes and just be a part of the team all around.
Absolutely, and you can look forward to, our listeners can look forward to meeting Lauren at some of the major events in case you didn't meet her at Autumn Oaks. And well, I'm just excited about this episode. This is one that you and Lauren did live at Autumn Oaks. I haven't heard it yet, and I'm ready.
Well, we'll get it rolled out here, Steve. Again, you'll be seeing Lauren Vrany pop up on our social media platforms and be a contributor there, and see her at our major events and be able to track her adventure and her journey in hound sports. I'm super excited.
Well, I am too, Chris. Welcome, Lauren.
Yes, welcome, Lauren, and we're going to introduce you right now to the Houndsman XP podcast listening crowd. We appreciate you. And we're recording from Autumn Oaks 2019, and we've got Lauren Vrany on the pod.
You got it pronounced right,
I did. Yeah, I've been practicing.
Good job.
Yeah. So, which state are you from, Lauren?
I'm from the good old state of Wisconsin. That's what we like to say.
The good old state of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So, what is a person from Wisconsin called?
I like to call myself a Wisconsinite, but it's weird. You know, you never refer to yourself really that way. Oh, I'm from Wisconsin. I'm from Milwaukee. But I hear a lot when you're out of state. Oh, you're a cheesehead.
Cheesehead.
Yeah, like they think we all walk around with, you know, the Packers foam cheese head on our heads, and, you know, we all like dairy or just, you know, eat massive amounts of cheese.
So you don't walk around with a foam cheese block of fake cheese on your head all the time?
Not all the time, no.
Do you ever put one on?
I mean, I've been,
Have you been to a Packers game?
No.
You have not? You live in...
I know, and I'm only, it's like an hour and a half to Green Bay, and I haven't been yet. I haven't been asked to go by anybody or really had the opportunity.
Have you ever been at a party and somebody had the cheese head?
Yes.
Did you put it on? And
yes.
Are there pictures of you with that on your head?
Probably as a kid.
Okay.
Yeah, and my brother owns one.
Oh, he does?
Oh, yeah, but it's kind of old and crusty now because he got it as a kid. What? So it's pretty much vintage by now, so maybe it's worth something.
It probably is. It probably is. You probably should look for that.
Yeah.
So since we're on the
eBay.
subject of cheese, let's talk about cheese curds for a minute.
I love me some cheese curds.
You do like cheese curds. Do you like just plain cheese curds, or do you like...
I prefer the like dill or ranch flavored ones. Yeah. The white cheddar. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes I'll get the mixed white and yellow cheddar. But I like the flavor.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what's the key to picking out a good cheese curd?
Nothing mass produced.
Okay.
Like huge factories.
But like there's a bowl of cheese curds sitting here on the table. I walk by, I grab one, I throw it in my mouth. What should that cheese curd do?
Well, perfect cheese curd is going to squeak.
It's going to squeak.
You know when you have really good green beans and they kind of squeak in your mouth? Yep. It should kind of be like that.
All right.
But you don't want them sitting on the counter getting all sweaty and warm cheesy. You want them to be...
When does a cheese curd lose its squeak?
I would think when it's not fresh, when it's too warm or it's too cold.
Okay.
You got to find that perfect temperature. So you have to always taste test, which means you're always eating the cheese curds
like,
till that perfect moment.
It's kind of like playing with a loaded gun, though. I mean, you're taking the chance on putting a non-squeaking cheese curd in your mouth.
Yeah, but it's still cheese, so it's not bad.
Oh, okay. Right. So if a cheese
versus a loaded gun.
If a cheese curd loses its squeak, is there anything you can do to revive it?
I've never had an emergency resuscitation on a cheese curd.
I heard you can like run them under warm water or something, and it kind of revulcanizes the cheese curd, and they get their squeak.
I'm not sure. I guess we're going to have to do some kind of test on that.
Well,
quality control.
If you go home and you get some non-squeaking cheese curds, because I don't have access to them. So if you could go home and do that and then message me on Facebook so we could have a follow-up, that'd be awesome.
All right. I'll let you know next time I get some curds.
All right.
Usually, if I'm at the farmer's market, I'll usually pick a bag up.
Okay.
So
sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet.
But
we're not here to talk about cheese curds. We're here at Autumn Oaks, like the most major coonhound event in the United States. And I don't even think you have to have a coonhound. I've talked to squirrel hunters today. I've talked to bear hunters today.
There's cur guys here. There's some beagle guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, if it has to do with the hound, this is a place to be.
For sure.
And so the reason you're sitting here is because you were completely ready and prepared to pull your 1978. What's the name of that camper you got?
It's a Free Spirit Cub made by Holiday Rambler.
Okay.
Just got it maybe a month ago.
And you were going to load that thing up and come down here by yourself to attend Autumn Oaks.
Yes, and keep in mind I've really never pulled a trailer before. And I was, you got to go through Chicago and all that, and I'm just like, let's do it. Let's go. I'm ready.
You're going.
Yeah.
So obviously you're a hunter yourself, and
yes.
What types of things do you hunt?
Well, so yes, I'm a hunter, but the funny thing is no one in my family has really ever hunted.
Right.
I am a first-generation hunter. So prior to me getting into this coonhound life, I had never killed anything. So the only thing actually, I've never even, never hit a dog on the street. The only thing I've killed is bugs with the car.
Right.
So right now, the only thing I've ever hunted is raccoon.
Yeah.
This year I've purchased everything.
You were in bear camp.
Oh yeah.
You've never killed any.
Never
Yeah.
killed.
Okay,
Yeah.
I gotcha.
So last year was my first year going up to bear camp.
Yeah.
So yes, I've hunted bear and hunted raccoon. But I'm excited to try other things too. But hound hunting is what got me.
It's what got.
Will always have me.
It's
yeah.
where it's at. So, I mean, you're without violating any social etiquettes here of asking how old you are. Is there a certain cutoff age where you're not allowed to ask a lady how old she is?
It probably depends on the person. I mean, I'm fine in saying that. We got to think about it.
Okay.
I'm 32.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Yep.
32. All right. And how long have you been involved in how long have you been hunting?
The first experience I had in a coonhound situation was 2 years ago on May 31st.
Okay.
So I'm fresh off the boat.
So you even remember the date?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. So that is intriguing to me, because all kinds of statistics in my career and everything, everybody says, you've got to impact these kids by the time they're 13. If you can't capture them by the time they're 13, the chances of them ever becoming involved in hunting drastically is reduced. And the reason I'm talking to you is, one, I love your free spirit of, I've got a driver's license and I've got a truck and I just bought a camper, so I'm going to Autumn Oaks. That is cool. And the fact that you're willing to jump out there. But the thing that makes you an interesting story to me is you come from a non-hunting background, and you've decided 2 years ago that you're going to become a hunter, and you're past the age of where we think that there's no hope left for people to become involved in hunting.
Sure.
So that's all cool stuff. So give me a background story. Tell me how you got involved.
Sure. So like I said, I come from a non-hunting family. I grew up in Brookfield, which is 20 minutes outside the city of Milwaukee, 20 minutes west. And big time city life, I always loved nature my whole life. Big nature girl. That was like my nickname in school was, that's nature girl. I'd, bring all bird nests and all this stuff to show and tell.
Yeah.
So I never had a problem with getting out in the woods. But what got me started is I bought my first house in Milwaukee, and I wanted a dog as for a companion and, just to feel safe as a single woman, in a house. So I had gone around to humane societies and everything looking for a dog for about a year. It took me a year, and finally this one dog spoke to me. I went in, I think it was a Tuesday. I had seen her online. You always scope the dogs out online, and I probably went after work that day and saw this dog. Her name was Maggie, and she's in the kennel, and she's laying on her back, just face tilted back, ears flopping, and that was it. When you see a hound, you know which one it's going to be.
Yeah.
At least for me.
You did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and met her, and she kind of didn't really care about me. We were in the big room. She's walking around sniffing, and turns out there was another lady that was interested in her.
Right.
For her daughter with special needs.
Mm-hmm.
Maggie was probably around 9 months old at the time.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. She was a stray, so no story with her, whatever. But she most likely is full-blooded Bluetick.
Mm-hmm.
That's what everybody thinks. And so this lady really wanted her, and she actually had first dibs because she had gotten there before me. Well, I struck up a conversation with her, and told her about my background and all the dogs that we had growing up. We had hound mixes. We had a beagle mix dog. My parents had a big dog named Greta, who's maybe a Bluetick Gascon. Do you know how to say that?
I don't know. We need to find somebody. Gasson.
Gasson.
Yeah. You got on.
Yeah.
You got to talk through your
Got
nose in that
French,
last part.
that French flair.
Right.
And hounds just really, really sat with me for some reason.
Yeah.
They plead with you in their face.
So you're standing in a pound. You see looking for a dog,
Mm-hmm.
and here's a Bluetick in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some other lady there that wants the dog.
Mm-hmm. So I talk her out of it, telling her, they're stubborn, they take a lot of training, and it's a big dog and all this other stuff. You might want to, find a smaller dog. So sure enough, she's like, you should really have her. And I'm like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Next day I fill out all the paperwork, and then I get to pick her up the next day. Pretty sure I called in sick from work that day. So I could spend the whole day with her.
I got you. Yeah.
So I picked her up. I'm pretty sure it was February 4th of 2015, something like that. She's 6 years old now.
Yeah.
And it was love at first sight, and I had no intention of hunting or anything.
So tell us how you come home with this Bluetick hound. Now you've got it.
Mm-hmm.
How did the hunting part come into this thing? There's plenty of people that have hounds that don't hunt, or they got them from rescue. But how did it come about for you?
So the dog park. So there's this dog park in Milwaukee that's like half nice grass area and then half woods, and it's nice. And I bring her there, and it was I think it was springtime at that point because there wasn't snow on the ground. I have a picture of her.
Yeah.
That day, and we're walking around, and all of a sudden she's, up on a tree. She's not treeing per se, but she's up on a tree, and she's like kind of whining, like. And
I'm not editing that out. No way. Go ahead.
So you can tell she's excited about something,
Yeah.
and she's kind of like looking up there, and her head's tilted, and I'm like, Maggie, and she looks at me, and she's looking up, and there's a squirrel up there.
Okay.
And I just got excited, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. So, that was in my mind for a while, and then I got on YouTube. Obviously, Coonhound.
Right.
It's made to hunt raccoon.
They download 400 hours of video per minute on YouTube now.
400 hours a minute?
Is that crazy?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you need to know it, it's probably on YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, I've done a lot of stuff because I found it on YouTube, like being able to fix certain things on my car.
Right.
The whole camper situation, I knew nothing about campers, learned a lot that way.
And
but
you're learning how to train a coonhound.
Yeah, that's how it started. So I got down this rabbit hole one night, looking at coonhound stuff on YouTube, and I don't know how late I stayed up, but video after video after video, I saw Bluetick days, treeing contests, the swim race, videos of guys just going out in the woods pleasure hunting, and I thought to myself, like, this is really cool, and I think Maggie can do this. And then I'm like, where do I start? Like, what do I Google? Who do I talk to?
Right.
And then I ended up on Google searching around, like Coonhound, Wisconsin, or something like that, and my local hunt club came up, which was the Jefferson Hebron Coon Hunters and Fox Hunters Club.
Yep.
And I messaged them on Facebook, and it took them about a year to reply to me. They weren't too strong on their Facebook game back then. Now they are. And, they asked, where are you from? What do you've got? What's your story? So I kind of gave them the background. And, when you say you're from Milwaukee, people are like, oh, what? Like, who is this girl? Like, you don't know what kind of person that's going to be.
Right.
But they invited me. They're like, yeah, hey, come out to this event. And it was the Wisconsin State Hunt, May 31st, 2 years ago. And that's...
Did you go there with the intention of hunting in the state hunt?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all. I just went there to see what it's all about. Like, I didn't even know about these Coonhounds events. I just wanted to just check it out.
Yeah. And since then, you made Maggie a night champion?
Yes.
So you got her X-bred. You used the UKC's X-bred program.
Correct.
And made her a night champion. And then is she still being hunted, or what's Maggie's status now?
Maggie's status now is living that lake life, retired life. She's at my parents' house. They live on a little lake, and she is free as a bee out there. She just gets to run around. She fishes all day.
Yeah.
That's her thing.
Okay.
And my mom is now trapping carp in muskrat traps. And that dog is just as obsessed with the carp as she is with raccoons.
No kidding.
It is hilarious.
I'd like to see a video of that.
I've probably got one.
Yeah, we'll have to take a look at it.
I'm like, Mom, look what you got yourself into.
Right.
But yeah, that first day that I went there, I pull up in my mom's pickup truck. I switched cars with her because at the time I was driving a VW Jetta, a nice black new VW Jetta. And I figured, well, this might not be a good idea to show up. So I take the dog in the pickup truck, and I pull up and I park and get the dog out, and the truck next to me, there's 3 guys talking, and I just go up and say, "Hi, I'm Lauren."
Nice.
This is my dog, and kind of told them my story, and probably caught him off guard a little bit.
Well, just from the time I've spent with you the last day or so here around the booth and stuff, it doesn't surprise me that you're an extroverted person that's not afraid to walk up and say, "Hi, my name's Lauren."
Yeah. I mean, it definitely sometimes it's natural to me, and sometimes it's not. I can be a shy person, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But, so I walk up to these guys and start talking, and then Eric is like, well, there's a swim race going on. So we walk over and watch the swim race, and he's telling me how it happens, the dogs in the box,
sure,
what the goal is, and where people dogs get disqualified for what. We're standing there, and out of the corner of my eye, I see a blue dog walking towards the start of the swim race, and I'm thinking, that's a nice looking dog. And he kind of bumps me on the shoulder and says, "That's your dog." Oh my gosh. And this guy, Max Gibson, who's my, now he's a great friend, a great mentor. He's the one that got me my Piper dog now.
Okay.
He stole Maggie. He stole Maggie and took her to the starting line and just put her in the... It wasn't... She couldn't go in the race because she wasn't registered yet. But it was like a practice run.
Right.
And she went. And she did great. And she loved that coon, or hated that coon, whatever you want to call it.
She was extremely interested.
Oh, yeah.
And enthusiastic.
Oh, yeah.
I got it.
I remember her swimming, and then she'd go to that big oak tree where that cage ends up. And people just stood there and... You got yourself a tree dog. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what that means, but okay.
Yeah. 2 years ago is how that started. And since then, you've competed multiple times. You're competing here at Autumn Oaks tomorrow night. Is that or is it tonight?
Nope, tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. So you're hunting Saturday night.
Correct.
And so there's been a long journey there. Tell me a little bit about, you've got the interest and you've got some basic information, but did you have any mentors along the way that helped you out?
Definitely. So the first one I had, and it's the Eric guy that I mentioned before, he said, well, here's my number, call me if you ever want to go hunting. Mm-hmm. He told me later that he thought I'd never call him. And sure enough, maybe a week later or something like that, I text him or call him, and we started hunting quite a bit. He lived, at the time, I was actually between houses. So I was living at my parents' house a little bit, and we would go hunting out in Fort Atkinson maybe every weekend or something like that. And I remember the first night, he, before I came over, he texted me a website, and he said, you're going to need to know these words. I'm going to be using these words a lot. You probably don't know what any of this means.
Right.
So, here's the definitions, get familiar. And it was like strike, locate, tree, trash, all the slang that we have now. So I looked at that. I'm like, kind of bright-eyed, like, okay, all right. I hope I can remember this and get this right.
Right.
And then when we, I pull up and we load the dogs in the truck and we go out, and he goes, I just want to let you know, every time you turn your dog loose, you're taking a chance. You never know what could happen. These things can happen, and are you still willing to do this? Yes, let's go. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of interesting, because you got this dog for a companion, a pet, but what motivated you to go ahead and go through with it and say, absolutely? Because you weren't hooked. You weren't hooked on hunting.
I weren't hooked on the time. No.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool, but I think it was seeing Maggie's drive and how interested she was and how happy that made her. That you want to fulfill that in your dog.
Right.
And I wanted to see what she could do.
Right.
And I guess that's what really tugged on me at the time before I even started seeing my dog tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
First night we went out, Maggie just stayed on the tree line of the field. She didn't go into the woods. And was it the first night? Yeah. So she stayed on the tree line about 70 yards away from us.
Okay.
And then his dog Girl treed just probably 50 yards in from that tree line, and she went in and started treeing and honored Girl, and he's like, pet her up, like, this is great, like, he's saying, good girl, and I'm got my phone out, like,
do you know tongue-tied here, do you know how unusual that is for a dog that has that little bit of that limited amount of exposure just to naturally kick in and start treeing like that?
I don't. I mean, now I know it. For some dogs, it takes a lot of work.
Yeah, now that you've been in it for 2 years.
And to be honest, we don't know what Maggie's life was before that. Maybe she was started a little bit.
She may have. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. So, I mean, there could have been a little of that in her, but, there are dogs out that are natural.
Sure.
So it was exciting to see that, and then we'd keep going out, and she'd finally leave me.
Yeah.
Because I had trained her to stay by.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's quite a difference in what she'd been used to and even what the training was with you. That's probably why she stayed out on the fringes there the first night.
Yeah.
That you hunted her. So.
Yeah.
So, tell me about your competition hunting and your experiences in competition coon hunting.
So it took me a little bit to start the competition stuff, because I had to get Maggie's papers in. So I couldn't really do the whole competition thing until I got her papers in. But before that, Max invited me to go spectate a cast up in Plymouth, Wisconsin.
Okay.
So my first experience with a competition coon hunt was that night, and I had no gear at the time. I had no headlamp. I had, normal clothes. I didn't have any pants, and I didn't have any, fancy boots.
Right.
I'm in there in just like hiking shoes and a raincoat and this tiny little, not even a kid's light, you know?
Like a Pexel from Walmart or something.
Probably, yeah. Just something spare that Max had. And we drew out, and it was me and 4 other guys. And it was actually probably one of the most fun times I've had hunting still.
Really?
Just the camaraderie and like the banter that we all had together.
Yeah.
It was fun. And I didn't have a dog involved, so it's not like I was nervous or, anything.
So tell me about the first time that you actually put your dog in a hunt. What kind of emotions did you go through? Just give us a background on that. I think that'll be an interesting story, because there's a lot of people that listen to this podcast that we've got a lot of competition hunters that listen to it, but we've also got a lot of people that have never participated in competition coon hunting, either because of where they live or whatever. So just give us some background on that.
Sure. So the first time, honestly, I do have a really bad memory. It's just one of those bad qualities I have.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that my first hunt, I can remember the picture I took, was it out of Hebron or Milton? Probably Hebron. And we drew out, and it was myself, Eric, that original mentor, and Mike Skase. Eric hunts a blue dog, Skase hunts a walker dog. So it was 3-dog cast, and we go out to these woods that I had hunted previously with Eric. And we draw out, Maggie does what she's supposed to do. She goes, and I just remember being so nervous about what to call and when to call it.
Right.
Because I've got these 2 guys who have been hunting forever, and they know their dogs. And I had only been hunting Maggie a month, I think, because I think this first hunt was like around July.
Okay.
And what I vividly remember is we treed on a pine tree, and I think we had to circle it, but then we recut, and Maggie kept going back to this pine tree. And I remember getting so frustrated, you know, and I still have the problem that I have high expectations for my dog, and people like give it time and all this other stuff, and if they go back, blah blah blah, and okay, I'm trudging back to go get her and cut her again or whatever, and I remember being frustrated at that point, but we continued going, and Maggie actually didn't look that bad, and I ended up being very happy at the end, and she actually came out with plus points.
Well, good.
And
so what kind of expectation did you have going in?
Well, I didn't think I was going to win because, Eric's dog was really good. I didn't know about Mike Skase's dog. And I knew that this hunt, if girl won it, she was going to be night champ too. So it was cool to see my friend night champ their dog in a hunt. But I had the expectation, that I didn't want to look dumb.
You didn't want to look dumb?
Yeah, I didn't want to look dumb. I mean, everybody knew I was new, but I didn't want to just make a stupid call or make a mistake. But I think I asked a lot of questions, like, okay, do I have to strike her now? Like, I think she barked 2 times, or is it 3 times? So I'm still trying to go through all the rules, and I really didn't know the rules at that time.
Okay.
So it's just, am I saying the right thing? Am I calling the right? Okay, sounds like she stopped barking. Do I need to say something?
So what was the attitude of the other hunters in the cast while you're asking these questions? And was it like a deal that it was?
They held my hand. They were very nice.
That's commendable.
Yeah.
It really is. Very easily it could have been, hey, if you're going to come and pay your entry in this hunt, then you need to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're not prepared, then you need to go back to the truck and come back when you are. I mean, that's all totally within.
And that's okay.
Yeah. But to think that the hunters on the cast recognized
that we're going to do the right thing here and assist this new person to keep them in the sport. That's what this podcast is all about.
And maybe it's because they knew my dog was not competition for them, too.
It could have been. It could have been.
Yeah.
You know, you almost need to have some. We used to do this back in the day. You would have buddy hunts, you'd have grade hunts, you'd have a lot of those types of hunts where not everybody was so wound up about the rules where, you know, we just weren't so uptight about it. You know, it was an opportunity to take people out and assist them and do things like that. So it's good to hear that even in the current day that people are willing to do that. Okay, so here is the $1 million question. And maybe we'll go down a rabbit path here. Do you think they would have done that if you hadn't been a woman?
No.
You don't think they would have done that if it was another man?
I think it's kind of an interesting situation because I knew Eric and I had been hunting with Eric.
Okay.
So maybe if they didn't know me and they didn't know my background, you know, that I was new and that I had this dog from the pound and all this other stuff, maybe I was just some person from Iowa coming in to hunt.
Right.
You know, I could have been just like me today.
Sure.
I'm not sure they would have treated me the same way. And same way if I was a male.
Yeah. That's a tough question. It puts you on the spot. But
and you never know how people are going to act either, but I've been on hunts now where it can get gritty, you know?
In what way?
Everybody's out for themselves. And
do you think that's wrong? Do you think that's wrong that they're all out for themselves? I mean, we're looking at a competition hunt tonight. You know, this is Autumn Oaks, so we got people competing for National Grand.
This is the big gig.
Yeah.
So I get that here. You know, I think it's different when you're in a little hunt. And everybody's personality is different. You know, I remember I was in a hunt in Tremont, Minnesota, and this guy fell down the creek bed or creek
bank.
Yeah, and I was the only one to go help him out of it. So, if you know, is it a wrong thing? Of course, everybody's out for themselves. They want their dogs to win, but there's still some like compassion and understanding.
Well, I think you know, definitely if somebody is possibly injured, everybody in that cast should be disqualified at that point if they're willing to turn their back on somebody that's injured for the sake of, you know, you can call timeout, you know, and if I was judging that cast, which obviously a cast is supposed to stay together. So if you're leaving a person behind that's possibly injured, those other people are the ones that are scratched because they walked off and left.
Yeah.
You know, in my opinion, I'm sure that Coonhound Advisor has something on that, but I haven't read it lately. So
I've never heard anything on it, but again, you know, I am still fresh to all of this.
Yeah.
But I remember him thanking me, not just verbally like that day, but he messaged me later.
Well, back to the original question, do you think it's wrong? Because I think a lot of times people, you know, you see a lot on social media in different places where people are like, you know, I don't competition hunt because I got cheated, or I don't competition hunt because people, they expect it to be this big kumbaya session out there on a cast, and you've got people that paid $20, $30, you know, up to thousands of dollars on this cast, you know, to be involved in this hunt. And a lot of times, like when I was competition hunting, I tried to come prepared, and I expected other people to be prepared because it is a competition, you know, and some of these hunts, you're running for state race, breed race, you know, your own championship degrees and stuff like that. So I want to get your perspective on that. I think you can still be a decent human being and you can handle things in the right way without just being totally unsportsmanlike.
I agree. It's the way you handle and manage things, and I've seen that go kind of wrong on a cast. You know, where grown men act like babies.
Right.
And it's kind of embarrassing, especially if you've got a spectator with you.
Right.
So, I mean, there's, if you're out there for something big, go for it. But you got to compose yourself, too.
Yeah, the rules are set up.
Be a gentleman.
The rules are set up. There's no reason. I mean, have I been upset and angry on cast before? Absolutely. Been upset. But if you know the rules, there are rules in place to if you've got a problem with the call that was made, you ask for a cast vote. If the vote goes against you, you put a question mark on it, and you take it back. Mm-hmm. There are rules. And I used to tell people, it seemed like I used to get the card everywhere I went. I could pull in. I've judged a lot of big hunts. I've judged here. I've judged winter. Drove all the way to Winter Classic. I walk in, and they're like, "Oh, Chris, glad you're here. Here's a card." Like, great. I'm carrying the card again tonight. But I used to tell everybody all the time, guys, here's the deal. Nobody is going to throw a fit in the woods, because if you're wanting to argue, then you're interfering with everybody else. So there are rules on this card. This is the way we're going to do it. If you have a question, it'll go to a vote. If we can't resolve it there, you can ask a question. We'll put a question on. If it needs to go back to Master Hounds, it'll go back.
And I think that's great for a judge to do.
You've got
to lay down the line right away.
Right.
This is how it's going to go.
But we're not going to stand out there and argue and interfere with everybody else in this cast. We all paid our money. We all want to win, but there's a way to do it. And I think that's just the way you got to handle it.
And for me, I'm starting to get a good caliber dog now, but at the time, the only thing I could do is title Maggie. I can't breed her. There's not a legacy there, really.
Right.
So, and I was out there to learn to have fun. And I'm still right now, I'm kind of just out there to have fun and still figure it out.
Sure.
So, I think I'm in a little bit different mindset than a lot of people, too, at this point. So. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that we touched on earlier, I asked you if you thought you would have been treated differently had you not been a woman. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, you told me that Savannah drew a cast last night with 3 women in it, right?
Yep.
I've never been on a cast with 3 other women, so I don't know that I've ever.
Neither have I.
I've never seen that. I think that's extremely good news because, our women need to be involved here. There's a lot of statistics I could bore everybody with and nerd out about over, hunting statistics and why hunting's in a decline and all this other stuff. But we were talking about women, so tell me some of the challenges you faced in hunting as a woman.
Well, first of all, one sticks out is the physical challenge. For me, I'm very slow in the woods. Mm-hmm. I'm clumsy in the woods, and a cast is supposed to go.
Wait until you get older and you don't pick.
Hey, I've already got hip and knee problems, so we've started there.
I'll tell you what, the last few years, I don't move through the woods like I used to either. I was pretty fleet of foot in my day, but as I get older, I joke around and tell people that my toes have gotten longer. I trip over all kinds of stuff in the woods.
Or maybe you're just wearing clunkier boots or something.
I don't think so. Same boots I always wore.
Yeah, so...
so you got the physical challenge.
Physical challenge, yeah. And I don't get out hunting as much as other people either because I live in Milwaukee. I've got to drive 40 minutes to hunt. So I'm out once, twice a week maybe. And I always have to remind the cast or... tell them, like, hey, slow down. Can we wait? And I'm usually behind. And I remember one time we were walking into a tree, and they weren't waiting for me at all. Mm-hmm. They were going in. And I think I said, wait, and they didn't hear me. And we walked in, and it was their tree. So my dog was elsewhere. Yeah. And it was their 3 dogs on a tree. And I remember kind of feeling a little jilted because I didn't get to see the situation right away.
Right.
And it was a situation where there were kits, and kits were killed, and kits were on the ground. Yeah. And they said, oh, well, no, one was right here in the tree, and it took it out when we got there. And I'm like, well, if you kill a coon on the ground, you don't get tree points.
Right.
So, but they were there, they saw it, they all voted, of course, for their dogs to get the plus points.
Sure.
And, that's something where I wish I would have been there. So there's that physical challenge. There's, let's see, I feel too like, okay, maybe we can walk all over this girl. Like we know, and maybe that's just me and not because I'm a woman, because I don't know all the rules yet. I haven't been doing this my whole life.
Right.
That I don't know how to cheat yet. I don't know the tricks of the game. It's kind of like when I was learning Spanish, you wanted to know the bad words.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of how it went. Like in school, you'd ask your teacher or somebody like, oh, well, how do you say this?
Right. So, but let's think about this too. I'm going to play devil's advocate on this. So, there's plenty of women that are competing in competition coon hunting now. I've drawn a few that were extremely good handlers, better handlers than I am.
Well, Savannah, for instance.
So is it a deal where maybe you're not displaying confidence, the confidence?
Definitely.
Do you think people are taking advantage of that, or?
Yeah, because, Savannah definitely displays confidence, and she won't take crap from nobody.
Right.
Type of situation, and I think it's a confidence thing for me, definitely, and that's something I've got to work on. I've definitely called BS before, though,
right.
too, when I knew something was off, and
sure.
But I feel like sometimes I just get looked at different, or just okay, well, this is I don't know how to describe it.
Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Obviously, back when I started hunting, there were a few women that would be around the clubhouse and things like that, but it wasn't commonplace for the women to be handling their own dog in a hunt. There were a couple around, but it was really, you knew who they were. And now you come to Autumn Oaks, I would be interested to know how many women handlers are going to be handling dogs in the night hunt now.
Yeah, versus the show. There's a lot of women doing the show.
Absolutely. That people, men and women would come to the night hunts, and the women would show and the men would hunt at night. And times are changing on that. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I'd love to see the statistics. They've got a slideshow going at the booth when you first go into the Raper Center.
I haven't even had time to get away from this booth hardly.
That place is a little bit air conditioned, so we wouldn't be sweating as much as we are right now.
It's actually pretty nice now. It's getting.
Yeah, I'm not glistening as much as I was before when I first walked in here. But they've got statistics about how many entries for each state. What is it? I took pictures of it. Entries for each state. Let's see. Entry breakdown for breed.
Right.
Yeah, I guess I took 2 pictures of the same thing. So, yeah. But that was interesting. But it'd be good to see, I think there are more women getting involved, like you said. And I think that's great. And that means that, I guess we're feeling more comfortable being in this situation. But I think we still have some struggles and some hurdles.
Yeah. Such as what?
Just being recognized as being equal. We're treating our dogs just like you're treating your dog, and don't think that we're any less, as good of a handler or something.
We're not talking about an arm wrestling competition, right?
Right.
We're talking about being able to call a coonhound, tree your dog, handle your dog.
This is knowing your dog,
right,
and calling your dog.
Right. My daughter hunted with me for a number of years. I never could get her to competition hunt. She just had no interest in it. She would go with me on casts and things like that. But, she was the type of girl that she was my middle daughter, and she's very confident in herself. And I'm not going to say she's stubborn like her mom, but she's stubborn like her mom. And so very confident, knows what she wants to do. But Cora was the type that if that truck was parked in the driveway and she knew I was going hunting, she was going to be in it. And even if I told her, and I'm not saying she was being disobedient, she wasn't. I guess if you get right down to brass tacks, she was. So I'd say, hey, I don't think you should go hunting tonight. And I'd go get busy doing something. She'd be sitting in the truck seat, waiting to go. Mm-hmm. And so I thought I told you weren't going. Or I said, I told you shouldn't go. That's what I would say. I thought I told you shouldn't go. And she goes, I know, I'll be fine. And away we would go.
Yeah.
And she was a great hunting companion. She bear hunted with me. She did all kinds of things with me. And so I really do respect, women that want to be involved in the sport. And she just had it's like when we'd be at plot days or any breed days. She just brought some sunshine into the world. I mean, She really did. And it was just fun, it was just fun.
We've got a different energy.
Yeah.
And I think it's more that people just can't believe, really? Like, you're here, you're hunting? You're hunting that dog? Like, you came here by yourself?
Yeah.
You're camping by yourself?
From 10 hours away? 13?
Yeah.
How long did it take? 13 hours?
No, God, no.
How long?
No, probably 7.
7? That's it?
Yeah. So we didn't really keep track. I mean,
But
GPS
who keeps
said,
track? I mean, after you've pulled a camper 3 hours away from home by yourself?
Well, we were listening to the Houndsman XP podcast on the way down.
Oh, so it just seemed,
time flies.
It went like nothing, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it's like, I think people are kind of dumbfounded.
Yeah.
That there's this girl here.
Yep.
Or there's this pair of girls,
Sure.
running around town.
Pretty cool
dogs.
stuff. Pretty cool stuff. What other kind of challenges, what other things have you faced? Not just being a female, but I mean just as a hound, developing your houndsman skills, whatever.
Definitely. Well, funny story, like when I started this whole thing with my family and how they felt about it or stuff like that.
So we're talking, mid to late 20s, and all of a sudden Lauren decides she's going to be a coon hunter.
Yeah.
You got to talk about that.
Yeah. So, grew up in the suburbs. About 8 or 9 years ago, though, my parents bought the place on the lake and moved out of Brookfield. And it's more country out there. It's more like-minded people. And that's kind of where I started to, really just feel more right about things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is where I was supposed to be. This is, these are my kind of people. Of course, I had bought a house in Milwaukee and was still living in Milwaukee, so whoops. Eventually I'll get out.
You got to pay the bills, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Exactly. Okay. Lauren's going to be a coon hunter. What do? You hunt raccoon? Do you shoot them? What do you do with them? Like, all these questions. And I talk about a lot of that actually in an article I wrote in the BBOA Blue Book, the 2017 Blue Book.
I'll have to.
Kind of pretty much, it's at the...
I will have to get my copy out and read that.
Yeah, it's at the booth here too, and I sneaked a pen in the middle of the book where my article starts. Just, people turn the
a little
page.
self-promotion.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, they've got all these questions about why would I do this and what do you do? And I remember clearly that my mom said, Lauren, why couldn't you choose something more socially acceptable, like pheasant hunting? Because their neighbor does pheasant hunting with the labs.
Oh, absolutely, and it's so much more sophisticated. And nobody chews tobacco while they pheasant hunt. And right.
I think it's just because it's a higher visibility sport.
Sure.
But I'm thinking to myself, I've got a coon dog.
I can't hunt pheasants with Maggie. I'm coon hunting.
And I'm already spending the money doing this. That's equally as expensive. So.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But
shotgun costs. Some of those shotguns are in the $1,000 ranges. So.
That'll be later in life for me, I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
I do. My dad has these guns, and I actually have shot his shotguns more than he has.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky in that regard. It's one of them sitting in my house right now.
Yeah.
He hasn't asked for it back.
Nice.
So, Benelli.
So, family's just like, what are you thinking? Or are they like,
I think they were really weirded out at first. Like, oh man, she's going down weird track. Like, we don't know what's happening.
Get her on
with
some
her.
meds.
Yeah. Like, I think they were kind of worried. Like, oh no, like she's gonna go a little too redneck. But now, you know, I especially have heard it from my grandparents. You know, we're so happy you found something you really like. And, you know, it sounds like these people are really great people. And, you know, you get to see, you know, parts of the country and do all this stuff. And I think they're just really happy that I really found something that I love.
Yeah. And, I mean, I've traveled all over the United States. I've got people I know from all over the United States. I mean, if I took off on a trip right now, I could travel all the way to the West Coast and never pay for a hotel. You know,
I'll get there one day, hopefully.
You know, and just because I've made friends all the way along the way, I might have a little bit. It's kind of a long stretch from Missouri up to Dillon, Montana, but I could make it in one day. But that's what the hound sports, and not to say that if you rode mountain bikes or you did something else, you couldn't develop those same relationships. Right. But I mean, this event here this weekend has got people from all over the country here. You know, we've got people from the state of Washington here at this event.
And Texas and Florida.
All over. And they're all converging on this one place for an event. It's a great place. It's where the event where history is made, whether that history is, you know, the National Grand Night or, you know, friendships, relationships that you build while you're here. There's a lot of history about Autumn Oaks. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, have you got any closing thoughts?
I don't know. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm excited to get involved, you know, in hound hunting, in, you know, competition coon hunting, bear hunting. It's all been so fun. It's been a wild ride.
You just want to take it all in, don't you?
Yeah.
You want to try it all.
Yeah.
You want to lion hunt.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
We might be able to make that happen.
I'll follow a dog, whether it's on hog or lion or whatever.
There you go.
I like to see a dog work. And it's great to meet, you know, the people that like the same things that you do.
Yeah. And that's what this podcast is all about. We don't care what you're hunting with your hounds, but it's that common thread of the hounds and being involved in the hounds and all of us taking this journey together to develop our houndsman skills to try to do right by the dog, by the game we're pursuing, and for the sport as a whole, to keep it alive and protect it and preserve it and promote it for future generations. That's our tagline.
And that's what I'm trying to do, you know, even as someone so new.
Yeah.
Is trying to promote the sport. And
that's why I want to sit down with you, because you give a very good positive message, and it's encouraging for other people. I mean, it's not a common thing. You're an anomaly. You came into this thing, you know, mid to late 20s, and you just said, I'm doing it. I'm going for it. And you're having the time of your life, and you're being successful with it. You're making night champions, and
we'll see what happens with my Piper dog. People are saying good things.
Yeah.
You know, but I heard from Robbie Brooks. He said, I think you've got the Savannah complex. You want a 5-year-old dog in a 1.5-year-old dog's body. So yeah, we went out the other night, and I was like, oh well. He's like, no. She did good.
Yeah, I've learned to become a lot more patient over the years, but I wasn't always that way with my hounds. That's for sure.
It's definitely, you know, this is the first hound I started, and I had a little help along the way, but I pretty much did it all on my own.
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
Well, I'll tell you what, I really appreciate you sitting down, and this is our second take. We'll just say that. We had some technical difficulties and things last night, but I appreciate you sitting down again with us today, Lauren. It's been crazy and hectic around here. It would have been great to have Steve sit in with us, but he's
a popular guy.
He's like, okay, so he's like walking through the NBA History Museum with Larry Bird. You know, everybody knows him. Everybody wants to talk to him. Everybody wants a picture taken with him.
Yeah. He's about 15 feet from us right now, just surrounded.
Absolutely. Yep. Tanya Rab waving at Tanya over there. He's talking to her right now. So.
No, I'm happy we met and we got talking.
I am too, Lauren. I'm glad. We'll stay in touch, and maybe I'll be up in Wisconsin this year for the
WBHA.
Yeah, Wisconsin Bear Hunters Convention.
I hear
great.
It's a rip-roaring time.
Have you been?
No, not yet.
You never have, so we'll be rookies there together.
Yeah.
So you always find yourself a rookie sometimes. So don't let that bother you. I mean, we're all going to be there, and we're all going to work through this thing. So
something we've got to work through.
That's
definitely.
Right. Yep.
All right.
Life,
I appreciate
life
it.
is a journey. Lauren, we've got a tradition here on this podcast where we close it out the same way every time. Tonight they're going to draw these dogs out. We're all going to go out here and we're all going to turn these dogs loose, and no matter what happens, you follow your hounds and I'll follow mine.